Hello, I'm Bob Smeerfak, but not really. This series is designed for theological seminary students with approaching exams who have not had time to read the Bible, and for long-haul truckers driving that 100-mile stretch with no services between Barstow and Needles. Matthew, chapter 11. Let's go. Jesus has just wrapped up his tutorial for being an apostle, so first thing he did was to go out and preach and show him how it's done. But meanwhile, John the Baptist was chilling in a prison cell and heard how Jesus was lighting it up out there. He sent a couple of friends who were lucky enough not to be in prison to find Jesus and make sure it was all on the level, and they asked him, "Are you the guy we're talking to, or are we wasting our time?" But Jesus knew their game. He told them to get on back to John with the news of the day. The blind are seeing, crippled people are walking, lepers are getting new skin, dead people are suddenly feeling better, and not only all that, but poor people were getting the gospel preached to them. And Jesus said anyone who's not embarrassed to hang with him is okay for real. So those guys took off, but Jesus had John the Baptist on his mind now, and he checked in with the crowd about who they thought John was. Had they expected some kind of weakling? A dandy man? Those kinds of guys live in palaces. A prophet? Sure, but this was the one specifically sent to roll out the red carpet for Jesus. John had tiger blood. He was a wild man. But all that aside, anyone who managed to check into the kingdom of heaven was even cooler than that. Jesus told them that ever since John rolled onto the scene, there had been a war on heaven, because this was all prophecy coming true about John actually being a reboot of Elijah, who was supposed to come back and do a big intro for the Messiah. He laid into them for ripping on John for being a teetotaling slob. And then he laid into them for ripping on him for being a normal, clean-cut guy who liked to party now and then with shady characters. Then he had a few choice words for all the cities where he'd done some solid miracles, but they didn't pay any attention to him. He said Chorazin and Bethsaida were even worse than Tyre and Sidon, a couple of towns God had hated so much he relocated them underwater, and he downgraded Capernaum to the bottom of a shit list where Sodom used to have the low spot. And he thanked God, or himself, or the part of himself that wasn't himself but was God, for making sure that wise people hadn't understood any of that, and for only allowing uneducated people to get it. Then he broke it down for them how the whole father-son split worked. He gets it all from his father. Only his father knows him, and no one knows his father except him and anyone he wants to introduce his father to. And if that was too much mental heavy lifting, just let him worry about it all. He told them to just try to figure out who he was and then relax, he'd do the rest. Next in this series, we'll move on to chapter 12. Spoiler alert, the fabulous Jesus boys have a huge argument over the proper time and place to eat corn on the cob with, who else? Their rival boy band, the Pharisees. As always, I'm not a religious figure, but if you want me to save you or damn you to hell, I'll do my best.